On that story, I'm joined by Professor Ivor Sarakinski from the Wits School of Governance. Good evening, Prof. Thanks very much for your time. As I was saying, a little earlier to Mr. Badenhorst, I can't see Jacob Zuma taking this lying low.
I'm sure he'll appeal it, which means that the costs will go up. And it's a question of brinkmanship, because if he loses the appeal on the appeal, then he's going to have to pay even more. So he's trying his luck, and he's hoping that the state will end up paying his bill. On the other hand, he's hoping that all his associates, who allegedly have looted huge amounts of money from the public purse, will come in and make donations to his case. If they do that, then he's going to be hit with donations tax as well. So one way or the other, if the state doesn't pay, he's going to have to touch his own pockets.
Well, the analysis from people who had been looking, at his tenure, what he's tended to do over. In the 8 years that he was in charge, it was that if the state couldn't do it directly for him, there would always be people, sort of ready and willing to actually help him out. But now that he is no longer, the president or in the running for a presidency of the ANC, which was the case, for example, when his court troubles started. He had the Jacob Zuma Foundation and so on. But who would be interested in actually assisting them? Was he to lose in court and be forced to be in a position where he'll have to be helped by other people?
Well, there are a whole range of people who've benefited significantly from their association with him. So now that he's a vexatious litigant, it remains to be seen whether those associates will come forward and fund his legal case should he lose. So it's a high-risk game, and he might end up having to pay more than he otherwise would have.
But would they do that even when they know that there's nothing that they will get from him? Because the assumption previously was that those who were keen, to put money on the table, knew that at some point or along the way he is president, or when he becomes president, which was prior to him becoming president, they would then recover those monies.
Well, they've made so much money out of their association with him already.
But no one wants to lose money
to pay for these legal fees, however exorbitant they might be. They're a very small percentage of the overall amount of money that his associates have got out of the state. So they might just, for old time's sake, pay. If they don't, and if he loses his appeal, then he's in serious financial trouble again. And I think the courts are taking a good view of this. So as a head of state, you will take decisions, and some of those decisions could impact on you, and you might want to appeal them in the courts. The issue here is, do you have a conflict of interest? And should the state fund your cases if you do have a conflict of interest? And what seems to be happening is the courts are taking a position that if you've got a conflict of interest, you pay, and if you win, then the state pays. And that's to disincentivize the abuse of public funds to run personal and political agendas using public money.
Could he still be part of people who, let's say, are opposed to the Cyril Ramaphosa administration or group of people that are currently leading the ANC? Could he still be part of something like that and use that to actually, fight his battles?
Well, his associates and those aligned to him have a lot to lose with the cleanup that's underway. And the meetings at the Maharani Hotel and the court case in Northwest is a clear indication that a fight back is underway. And because there's so much to lose, the associates, the cabals, the cliques might want to fund these kinds of cases in order to bolster their position in the infighting that's well underway within the ANC.
But
so that might be a motivation for them to support him.
But how does a Jacob Zuma help those people? Let's say there are all these people, former ministers or business people, and so how does a Jacob Zuma, the man, sort of help them in their fights as the cleanup continues?
Well, he's not insignificant in parts of the country. He still gets lots of crowds to the meetings that he holds. There's talk of him being part of a new political formation. And to use that influence in terms of the factional battles that are underway in the ANC to get some kind of leverage. So if Northwest wins their case, there's going to be cases coming in Mpumalanga. There's talk of calling a National General Council after the election to reevaluate the December conference where Cyril Ramaphosa won. And the issue there might be to undermine the ANC as it now is structured, to restructure the leadership to get Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma back in, and therefore to believe that they might get some protection. Whether she will or won't, should she win, is another issue. But that might be the longer-term game here, is to undermine the ANC to such an extent that it becomes possible to have a new leadership structure in place after the election next year. And in that way to use politics to protect all the nefarious doings that have taken place over the last 10 years.
But are they fighting because that's about the only option that they have, or are they fighting also because they feel that perhaps Cyril Ramaphosa and his crowd are getting a little more vulnerable with each day that comes?
I think it's a bit of both. I think they are smelling a bit of blood in terms of the power balance in the ANC, in terms of the current leadership. But at the same time, with all the commissions, all the information, with the hawks starting to open their eyes at last, without a sheep heading the NPA, the risks of prosecution, the risks of some kind of sanction are increasing. And I think that might be driving these kinds of rearguard actions, is to try and hobble the ANC in order to get political protection from all of these developments, which will result in them holding some kind of responsibility for their actions, and it might even mean jail time. So it's a fight that they're willing to have now. Desperate times, desperate measures.
Okay, that's what we're going to leave it. Professor Ivor Sarakinski, thanks very much for your time and insights this evening. He is from the Wits School of Governance.